don't care about their privacy, and they probably won't until they become a victim. So at Digital Privacy Matters, I kind of look at like, I love technology. I love doing the research. I love sharing the important stuff. But for you to save you time, instead of reading lots of blogs and articles and watching videos, et cetera, I found it's the best use of my time to simply ask an expert. So today's discussion is on the topic of protecting your cell phone number, specifically SIM swapping. And I have invited Hasib Awan to join us. Hasib is a telecommunications engineering expert, and he has been a victim of SIM swap. But what most important about it is he decided to do something about it. So today's agenda is going to be, it's going to be about 20 minutes with Hasib kind of going through the risks around your current cell phone number, the basics of what a SIM swap attack is, some common practices to mitigate attack, and what to do if you are a victim. And then we're going to leave about 20 minutes for Q&A where we'll ask for your questions. But feel free to submit those questions as we go throughout here as well. So with that, I'm going to ask Hasib, turn it over, and Hasib, maybe give a little background on yourself, and let's dive into this.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. I'm Hasib Awan. As Keith mentioned, I'm 4 times SimSwap victim, and I'll explain how SimSwap happens. But after SimSwap, and I'm a telecom engineer, and I'm a cybersecurity expert. I work with high-profile customers, like clients like athletes, celebrities, uh, financial service providers, and lawyers to help them assess their cell phone privacy and security needs. Cell phone security, as Keith mentioned, is a tough sell right now, frankly, because people don't sign up unless there's a major issue and they believe that, oh, we possibly not be a victim. And that's and then till the day comes in and they become a victim. So that's a major challenge for a lot of in this space. But we'll just go over a couple of basic steps. So God forbid anything goes wrong, you should at least have an idea about what's happening, and you can mitigate the risk accordingly. So we have a very simple presentation. Probably will run between 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll take your questions. Make it very lively, like there's no formality. You can ask questions as you want, and you can write in the chat on our YouTube channel, and we'll take them toward the end or in the middle if you want. So with this, I'll start sharing my screen, and just a second. Um, so I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
So okay, so this is basically, so I'll just I'll start off with the presentation with cybersecurity want your cell phone number. There are actually two things that are important in our life right now. One is social security number, second is telephone number. A lot of people do not realize that how important a telephone number has become. If you look at number of identity links to your telephone number, they're far more than your social security number. Because when you meet up with someone, you don't give them social security number. But when you meet up with someone, then it's just give you a telephone number. And the same telephone number has been provided to your Venmo account, to your Facebook account, to your bank account, and they all connect. There are companies which actually will sell your all information based on your telephone number. That's it. It's pretty simple. So, as Keith have already mentioned, he's a privacy enthusiast, and I'm cybersecurity expert, specifically around like SIM swapping and telephone security. Uh, so the agenda would be like, let's say, we will just share basics around like what's the risk, how SIM swap happens, what should you do, and what you should do once you're a victim, and what you do before you're not a victim, like you're fine, and then take some question and answer. So cell phone has become one of the, like, wherever we go, like either the washroom or go for a run, or regardless wherever you go, if you have to carry one thing with ourselves, that will be cell phone. And what has happened is, so technically we have installed like a tracking device in our home, which is obviously a lot of people think that's a paranoid to think about tracking, but actually it's it's not okay. But like the risks are far more if an individual wants to, like a criminal wants to attack you, because now he can attack you much easily because you have one device that's moving all over the place with you. It has your all the personal information, and someone gets hold of your telephone number, he can pretty much damage you massively. So through telephone number, you can find your history. So my history is I can literally type in a telephone number and tell him where the person lives, what's his date of birth, how many people live with him, and other information, and LinkedIn and everything. And these tools are legal. It's a $50 billion industry, I believe, and you can buy them like White Pages Premium is one of the companies, but there are like 30, 40 other companies which sell this information to the worst point that they can also find out. So there are companies which give you social security number just based on your telephone number. You put a telephone number, they'll tell you this is a social security number. Once they have it, they can replicate your identity and basically get into all the accounts you have. They can also do a social engineering or bribe someone at a telecom company and get into your take over your telephone number. And I'll explain it to you in the video much easier. And then your call log is also for sale. So you can literally pay someone at a company and they will sell you call logs, and which I think is a massive breach of privacy, especially if you're a lawyer or accountant or someone investment banker, because I've seen cases where the lawyers or accountants were blackmailed because they were threatened that if they don't pay the ransom, the criminals will call their clients and tell them that their privacy had been breached, and no one will do business with them. So they were forced to pay the ransom. And then family history, because they may not come up to you directly, but they may find someone in your family who's vulnerable and attack them. And it's simple, take your telephone number. And the worst part is every second three Americans become victim of cybercrime, but a lot of them don't talk because of taboo, or sometimes they just say nothing will happen, or they are being blackmailed. So there's a chance that someone in your know. So I think there's a chance if you meet with 10 people, one of them has been a victim of cybercrime. But a lot of time they are under a lot of stress, and they are being threatened that if they do it, they will be, shamed on the internet because they don't talk about it. So let's start this video. It's a 2 minutes video. So
Well, do you remember how hackers targeted Hollywood and exposed stars' private photos from their cloud accounts?
Hackers exploited a weakness with cell phones. Now they're using the same tactics to steal from everyday people like you. You're about to meet a man who lost $1 million, nearly his entire life savings.
Consumer investigator Sasha Jones is here now with his story. Sasha.
That's right. If you have a mobile phone, you are a potential target in the SIM swap scam. You've probably seen the messages on your bank account, social media, and email. It asks you to add a phone number to add security. But thieves have hacked this extra layer of protection, and the scam starts when your cell phone suddenly shows no service. We searched our nationwide database of consumer complaints.
Why would they take control over my phone number?
And found viewers around the country complaining of the same SIM swap
They
scam.
stole $4,000 in less than 2 minutes.
I had $1 million stolen that night. It included my daughter's college fund, my retirement. Imagine checking your phone one day and realizing your bank account had been drained and your life savings were stolen. That's what happened to Rob Ross, who was the victim of a type of hacking called SIM swapping.
SIM swapping is a new way for crooks to essentially take over a victim's cell phone while they're sleeping.
I didn't know this could be possible. I didn't know it could happen. In that minute, I realized that I was under attack. SIM swapping targets the SIM cards located in cell phones. Here's how it works. A hacker, using bribes or tricks, somehow gets a customer service representative from a cell provider to make a SIM swap over the phone. This gives the hacker access to the victim's phone number. From there, that opens the door to the victim's email, bank accounts, and other applications.
The entire process can take as short as 20 minutes and take a victim from having $1 million in cash to literally not 1 cent left.
Fear. I just had complete fear.
It seems like every week there is a new way that hackers are convincing the telephone companies to change SIMs.
Ultimately, it's always going to come down to human failures at large corporations. If you can trick, bribe, or convince someone to do something bad, that's where the liability lies, and they should be held accountable.
I don't know if I'll get all my money back. I think that this is a unique type of hack attack that doesn't require much sophistication. 10-year-old can do an illegal SIM swap.
There's not much we can do to protect ourselves
from the SIM swap happening. What we can do is protect ourselves from the damage that these crooks can do once they have control of our accounts.
So I hope you guys didn't get, I didn't scare you a lot, but this happened to me too. My cell phone was stolen, and I'm just sitting in my apartment, and I see no signals, and that was really really tough because I immediately knew that it was SIM swap, but like when it actually hits you, and I knew it would happen to me, but when it hits you, it really hits you bad. And then I started seeing email that this is getting changed, but luckily I had all the prevention in place because I work in cryptocurrency for the longest time, so that was helpful. But at the same time, the stress and going through everything, it happened to me 4 times, and then uh, I got so frustrated that I actually started a company around it. But more than that, it's important that what's at risk. Identity theft, as I said, you have more information linked to your telephone number than so your bank, your social media. These are all identities, and a lot of time they can be used against, like a lot of people communicate through other stuff. So that's about it. So so then your financial fraud. The as in this guy Rob Ross, he's a friend of mine based in San Francisco, and his account was taken away, and he lost all the money. I think within an hour or so. Still fighting the suit. I have other friend Michael Turpin, like dozens of people who I personally know have been a victim. And then dark web. So healthcare professionals are it's what the most in illegal market, but anyone who's professional like lawyer and accountant, even there are sold for at least $1,500 too. So these are high risk reward, sorry, low risk, high reward. Because, like if you are talking to a healthcare professional, he's busy, or a lawyer, he's busy, like he's not tech savvy. So once they get into his account, there's a very fair chance they will make a lot of money. Like think about your lawyer's account SIM swapped. So now anyone who calls him calls goes to criminal. He can use this to get into accounts. That's the biggest challenge. So this would happen, like this is pretty much what happened at T-Mobile. I took it just get a text message that your SIM card has been updated. A lot of time that happens like in the evenings, like maybe like after 8 where offices are closed, so you can't do anything. Or sometimes really in the random time, like on the weekend where you can't find anyone, and it's literally difficult to communicate or help or like do anything in that time. So this is a very complex diagram, but technically what it says is people take your cell phone account and now they go on Google or like a Gmail or Hotmail or whatever account you use, do a password reset, and the secondary way to recover your password is by having a telephone number. So they'll send you a code to your telephone number, you put the code and boom, they are in your account. Now they have your email account as well as your telephone number. And now, once they have it, they run a cron job with which accounts you have. Once you have account, you get into every single account and you start draining money. First of all, they will come after your dollars. So money. Second thing, they will come after social media. And third thing, they will come after like your pictures or any other information they want, so they can use it to blackmail you later. Um, and all of this happens within minutes, frankly. That sometimes you can't even recover. So what you should do in this space is, so easy thing is these are the processes that you should do, but in 99% of the cases people don't do it because they say they'll do it, but it just they just forget about it. So I want you to screenshot this because you will need this one day. Hopefully you don't need it when you're hacked, but like that's what you need. So search for information online. Like you'll be surprised at how much information you can get by just typing in a telephone number in websites like White Pages or like people.com, or like there are like 20, 30 websites where you can find see how much information is available on you, or even just going on Google and type in your telephone number and your name, and you'll find out how much information linked to you, and then you should do about it. It just like as said, people talk about privacy. Hey, what if why I'm important? It's not about you're important. It's just about they're trying to find victims um, who they can target easily. And sometimes they may use like your identity for illicit purpose to launder money from one organization to a different organization and without even information. So app-based two-factor, which is getting very popular, like Google Authenticator and Authy are the most popular ones. You can install the app on your phone. So even if you get, no one can get access to your account, even with the SMS. They need to enter a one-time password, which is very uh, become very challenging for people. And then you also have to set it up that once you have a mobile, some there was funny part because some mobile apps actually allow you to move the app to a different phone if they have your telephone number. So disable that. That even if you lose your phone, you are not able to recover, or there are other ways that you can recover. But make sure that you have uh, put an option of disable multi-device, so no one can install it on a different device. Which basically the goal is that it should only stay on your device, and even if someone has telephone number, they can't install the app on the different bit. So rather than using like when I log in, I use hardware keys. Hardware keys are obviously the best, where I have to physically connect the device to my phone in order to log into my account. And then auto update software. So you should be using the updating software as often as possible. Like, you'll be surprised at how many people have not up to date software. So I think I was looking at Windows 7. Um, so Microsoft doesn't support it anymore. If there's exploit, Microsoft will not do anything. And I think 47% of the world still uses Windows 7 or and below, like Windows XP, Windows 98 or 9. And you'll surprise how many people still use Windows XP and 98. But especially financial services or the machine or like basic things that you have, a lot of them still on all operating systems. So those are all at risk. So make sure you have your computer up to date. Set up firewall. Firewall setting up is like super simple in every operating system. I use Mac, so on Mac it's pretty simple. You can just literally make 2 clicks and you set it up. Preferably, if you are a serious business, you should also have a hardware firewall on top. But even just setting up like a regular firewall computer should be sufficient for majority of the people. Use a password manager. Never ever try to memorize passwords. Have one password and then password manager. Frankly, any of the password managers is fine. Any 5, 10 on top are fine. They vary from like free to like maybe $10 per year, $20 per year. Very good investment. So you can never reuse password, like have a different password for every app. And then limits on account withdrawals. So this happens mostly with lawyers in medical field where they send money to multiple accounts. So there have been withdrawal attempts on those accounts where victims accounts were drained because we're pretty normal to send like 100,000 or $200,000 account. So I would recommend call your bank and tell them that, hey, don't put a limit that no one can withdraw more than $2,000 per day or something. And then for everything, you just set up extra check. Because once the money has been wired, you cannot get it back. It's within US, maybe, but wire money is unable to get, because what happens is the money actually flows from one account to another account. So once it leaves your account, it may flow into a second account that the victim do not even know it's his account. And it flows to third account, fourth account, and by the time you get it, it's already gone, and the banks cannot do anything. And I think looking, I think in average in Bay Area, I think $100 million was stolen like this last year or something by a presentation by FBI. But anyways, this one, put a password on your phone. You'll be surprised how many people still don't have a password on their phone, and or a very simple password like 1 2 3 4 5 6. It doesn't work. You need to have a decent password, and try not to have a password that's for computer and phone the same thing. Encryption is basically sounds very geeky, but you can set up encryption super simple by just going in computer option. And we're happy to guide. Like, I think if you go on the website, we have all the guides on how to do that. And they literally all of the steps take maybe maximum of like 10 minutes. Lock your credit report. Every major company offer you a locked credit report, which means no one can check the report if they are in any if you don't have permission. And which means that if someone have done like your identity theft, they will not be able to get any information from you. So that's like very important for you. So these steps, like I said, they look pretty simple. Everyone says that they will do it, but people who haven't done it, frankly, 99% people do not do it. And if you do these steps, you'll be among the top 0.1% percentile, not even 1%, but 0.1. And it's just like complicated in the beginning. Oh, I need to use an app. but you develop a muscle memory, so it's not convenient. And so, as I said, a lot of people may watch this after they have been victim. So first of all, we make sure that we ask them that are you personally safe? Because what if someone is trying to physically harm them and they have found their location? So once you're physically safe, then you look onto your assets of, like find a bank account. If your cryptocurrency is the number one target, but after that it's like bank accounts and everything, like Venmo, Square, Cash App, or other ways you store your money, like PayPal. So make sure that you control those assets. You may have lost your phone, so email them, go to chat, borrow your friend, go to Skype, make anything. Like, there are a lot of services that will offer you to call them online. Do that. Second thing is social media, because there have been incidents where hackers took control of social media, downloaded all the history. It takes like 5 to 10 minutes, I believe, to download all the history, and then used it to blackmail or do illicit things on your account. So they took control of. And there's also an industry where they will sell your information. So if you need a username, they will just hack it and give it to you, sell it to someone. Generally happens for inactive accounts where someone have it's like a domain name. Someone may have a good domain name, so they'll sell it. Recent Twitter hack was the same thing, and I was quoted in New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Mashable, and then media outlets for the same thing. There's also actually a documentary coming on it, uh, so- and where I have a small bit of portion, but it would be really good if you want to understand how this industry works, where you can buy anyone's username. So they may come after your username, or they must just get your information. And then personal accounts is like Gmail or other iCloud, and because sometimes you have important information there, and you should basically help make it to protect that too. So once you are done with that, frankly, it's very panoramic. So I'll prefer you write it down on a piece of paper what you have, so you can start like, okay, this is done, this is done. Because at that time people are very panicked. If you can't access, at least send them all of them email. If you can't get hold of telephone number, so you have a record. Then assess the damage. So you say, hey, how much accounts? Oh, do I have my Facebook? Yes, check. Instagram, check, right? And then do I have control of my account? So you start right. Make sure you document everything. It's in your head, but make sure you document, because it's very helpful if there's any forensic that need to be done, or any claims that need to be filed. And then other thing is, so those steps in the previous slide that I mentioned, like change password, set up 2FA if you haven't done it. Anything you have to do there, just do that and document it. And then you have to inform authorities. There's a 99% chance they will not do anything because of, like, depending on the risk. So if you have like less than $500, I don't think so if they will do anything, or like any law enforcement will do anything. But it's for you to keep a record. So this is like pretty much everything that we have. For now, I'll just start taking questions. And I said, I kept it very simple and brief, and just to educate you on what can happen with your telephone number. That's all. So I'll stop sharing the screen now, and I'll see if there's any questions here.
Yeah. So Hasib, I see there's a couple of questions and comments in the chat. If you can see those. For starters, Brian just says, he uses Verizon. He said that he can add a PIN to his account and make knowing that PIN mandatory. Is that a pretty foolproof way of protecting your SIM card?
So it's not, like, the problem with that is, like, a lot of times store employees are involved, right? So if you have store employees involved, they can bypass the PIN, they can change the PIN. So it does not help. Verizon also have an option of adding a port block, which means that you can start port block. The problem with that is, if you lost your SIM card and you walk in the store with a fake ID, you can basically just ask them to override. They have, store owner have the option to, like, store guy has the option to do anything, and normally they get like paid like $12 to $15. So if they bribe them for 15 to like $200 to $300, they will be able to skip override the PIN number. So it just makes the attack slightly difficult. But frankly, if someone is really coming after you, they will bypass it. And we are even customers who had all kind of protection, they were still able to get leaked.
And then Sean asks if there is one step that you would suggest implementing to protect yourself, what would that one thing be?
I think setting up like two-factor authentication on a cell phone. Like a lot of people use SMS, so try to get rid of telephone number from any place you possibly can. Use Authy. Literally takes like literally less than 5 minutes to set it up, and enforce 2FA everywhere. That's one thing you should do immediately. Now every bank offer it. Um, every major financial institution offer it. Do that. And one
So
thing.
what's interesting, Hasib, is what I found is I know, I bank with one of the largest banks in the country. And for online banking, they do offer us two-factor authentication, but it is only email and it is only SMS. So they don't even offer me the option of using something like Authy, which I find pretty interesting.
Yeah, I have the same card. Like the bank that you're talking about is probably this bank, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I haven't even activated the card, right? Like, I'm sitting
Mhm.
at my table because like, I don't trust these things.
Yeah.
Um, and you'll be surprised at how many organizations do not offer it.
Yeah.
But
And why is that? I mean, I would think that they have a lot riding and liability on the line for things like that. Why that doesn't seem like that would be that difficult. Is there a reason why they don't implement that? Why aren't they providing better security for us?
I think that's all about like comes down to right. I think when we talk about safety, that should be mandatory. The
Mhm.
problem is that it does not impact everyday consumer, and privacy and security has always been on a fence of like on a line of uh, convenience versus like inconvenience.
Mhm.
If you have a two-factor authentication, I'll simply give you example, and someone lost their phone and they walked into a bank and they said that I want my money out. Hey, what's your 2FA? Oh, I don't have a 2FA. Oh, I forgot it. Right? So it will cause them a lot of inconvenience. So they just take a risk there. And I think their policy is like, just pay if they're the victim, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of inconvenience versus convenience.
Yeah. So it's what I gather from all this is if two-factor authentication, super important. The key is get away from SMS as being your authenticator. So find something like Google Authenticator or Authy. I know Digital Privacy Matters in my research. I use Authy for everything. I try to do everything I can to get off of the Google ecosystem. And most consumers, if you're looking at Authy, you're not even aware of this, but anywhere that accepts Google Authenticator, you can just use Authy. And I don't know why it's not stated more clear anywhere, but just know that if you're going to set up your two-factor authentication, if it says Google Authenticator is accepted, you can use Authy and it'll work just fine right there. So I think that's really important to know. And then you were talking about those other steps to take and password manager. I tell people all the time, boy, you want one thing, get a password manager. And at the end of the day, if I were to ask you, what's your password for your email, you really shouldn't even know it. You should know two passwords in your life. You should know the master password for your password manager, which should be very complex, some sort of phrase, etc. And you should know the passcode or password on your phone. And technically, I would recommend, there's a difference between a passcode and a password on your iPhone, your Android. Set it up so that it's alpha and digits, et cetera. So make it a little bit more complex. But those are technically the only two passwords you really should know. And the way to manage it is through a password manager. And like I said, I mean, most of them you can get a free password manager like LastPass or Dashlane or something like that. And yes, they do have an upgrade to a premium version, but the free ones are really good. So it can do just about everything you want right there. So I would just highly, highly recommend doing that.
Yeah, so like you were asking about Authy, one option, Authy have two options, right? That you need to disable. One is multi-device, so you should not have it disables you to install it on multiple things because frankly, someone can just bypass your security and install Authy on a second app too. So make sure that you disable that, and also disconnect your telephone number from Authy. So these are two things that you need to be very careful of. Disable it. And your question to like, it's all about like convenience, inconvenience. Like imagine you have to lock like twice your car because for additional security, people doesn't like it. People want convenience, and that's the problem. And a lot of like cell phone was never meant to be like a security device. right? Like, we start using it, but it's never meant to be. And the reason why we use it is because of convenience.
Mhm.
So, so that's the reason why companies are not working. Like even if you look at SimSwap, it only maybe impact like 1,000 people per day, 100 people
Yeah.
per day, which in the grand scheme of things is not big,
Yeah.
but the people it impacts is higher.
Yeah.
And it's like similarly, if you expect like Toyota or like Honda or like even Rolls-Royce to manufacture all cars as bulletproof cars, that's not their business. They are like a mean of transportation. They are not a mean of security.
Right. Right. So I see Sean in the chat room had asked, and it is called Authy, AUTHY, Authy two-factor authentication. If you look for that, and like I said, it's a free service you can use.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty.
yeah, Hasib, I have a question. Like going back to your presentation when I was talking about the value of data out there, why is healthcare so valuable to cybercrime? I think you had a value of like $2,000 per
Yeah.
record. Well, why so much?
So as a comparison, average American data is sold for 60 cents. So that's the price in dark web, right? So that's also depending on how good the data is. For healthcare professionals, so you will never ever give fake information to doctor.
Hmm.
Right? They will have, if they have a social security number, it will be a real social security number.
Yeah.
If they have your data, birth, it will be real date of birth. Anything that you have would be legal. So once you access, like now it's getting less and less, but a lot of doctors have their personal practices. So if you get hold of any doctor, you can possibly get into your accounts and get all the patient data,
Wow.
and you have much chance of blackmailing because they have HIPAA compliance and other privacy laws. If we breach, can cause a lot of damages. So the lawyers have a lot at stake. Other than that, like I haven't met a poor doctor. So if you're meeting a doctor, there's a very fair chance that you can blackmail him and extort money from him, because there's a chance that they may come after ABC and the ABC doesn't have money. But in doctor case, definitely he has money.
Hmm. Yeah. So
So
I know in
yeah.
recent conversations we've had, you said that being on a family plan, like for your mobile, is kind of puts you at higher risk. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. The reason for that is like I think 70% of Americans are either on family or corporate plans, and the challenge there is that it's like a weakest link. So if imagine your daughter or like someone in your house who is not as tech savvy, so you have done all the things on like OT and everything, but that person get compromised. You know
Hmm.
that he doesn't or he she doesn't didn't do the job that you expect him to do. Then
Hmm.
in that case, they can be weakest link to you because you all share the same plan. So we had cases where people were able to get into like daughter's account or son's account who were like teenagers, and then through that they attacked their parents.
Yeah.
And also cases where kids' accounts were compromised and they were blackmailed and they were never told their parents. So I
Mm.
think when I talk about like family plans, I think that's the massive issue that where you have you're more at risk. Like think about it. If you're at risk and you are at war, would you take your family with you at the war or not? You would like your family to stay away from you
Yeah.
if you're at
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah. And what about, I know you do like a little kind of ad hoc or mini audits for people based on their mobile phone number. And I
Yeah.
think you've mentioned to me, like, I think, on the dark web, if you're a bad guy, maybe for as little as 10 cents, they could basically purchase your entire history, right? So
Yeah.
that, yeah. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So if you sign up a contract with any major carrier right now, like you will see that in terms of conditions states that they will be able to sell your information and share your information, and that's very risky because in telecom, I think 99% of the employees have access to your account,
Hmm.
which means that anyone who works as an engineer versus anyone who works as a storefront person have access to your account. So that's a major issue. Now the problem that happens is that in this case of like data breaches, they also have contracts with companies to sell information. That's one way of to monetize it. Actually, I was looking at AT&T announcement where they are launching a new carrier to sell ads. So so these companies sell information for like as little as 10 cents, which means that you say, hey, I want to find out who Keith is. So if you put your telephone number, they will tell you For 10 cents, they will give me your date of birth, where you live, who you live with, so how many people live in your house, and then potentially your income level, your relative information, uh, your previous addresses, and that helps you in faking an ID if you want to do any illicit purpose. It's a business practice,
Yeah.
standard. Even DMV sells you data too, which is actually a very stupid thing. Like, why would DMV have to sell the data, but they do it?
So you're saying that the DMV is selling our data, correct? I know I've seen that, I think, in California and some other states like that.
Correct. Yeah, I have to investigate further into that. But DMV sells you data, and the problem with these services is that that's where I think legislation need to be done. That you should be able to pay a higher premium to use the service and not being sold. The
Yeah.
problem is, like, you have to use Experian, and Experian can get compromised and Experian when you don't get anything by yourself, and
Yeah.
it's mandatory service, or DMV will sell your information.
Yeah.
Why would someone have authority to sell your information? Like, it's okay if they have an option, but a lot of companies you don't even get an option not to be sold, and they're mandatory services.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you think that, from the standpoint of being a target of sim swap, are they targeting really specific, like, are they really, they're looking for doctors, lawyers, or are they just looking for any easy opening out there on the web where there's an easy prey, and they don't care if it's $1,000 or $50,000, they'll take whatever they can get?
100%. So obviously, in some cases, where it's very high profile customer. It depends from criminal to criminal. Like, you will say, hey, I'll only go with like Beyonce, right? Or
Yep.
Jay-Z or Kanye West, right?
Yep.
Or lawyer, accountant.
Right.
But in some cases, they are just like criminals. So what they do is they put this information in their algorithms, and they're not smart people. As in, they're not sophisticated computer hackers that you can think that, oh my God, this person need to be like a PhD in computer science from Stanford or MIT. No, they're literally criminals. There are a lot of tools that are available there, and what happen is they will just run the algorithm, and the algorithm will tell them, hey, this person information is found. Then they will try to intimidate them, or try to infiltrate them and then get into your account. So it can be like someone who's losing like $500 from their Venmo, or $100 from their Venmo, or to be Uber driver. I've seen a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Uber drivers who were victim where people got into Facebook accounts, they took their telephone numbers, and through Uber, how do you log into Uber? Like, you log in through your telephone number,
Yeah.
and once you log in, you can actually change your funding account. So you log into Uber, you update your account on there, and next thing you do, as soon as the person makes money, you just transfer it to your own account. So
Yeah.
someone may have like $3,000 sitting in their Uber account, and you took all the money.
Yeah. What I find interesting these days is how prevalent it is. Everybody wants your phone number. I've had an account online for years, and now all of a sudden, they want a second form of authentication, so they're asking for my phone number. I created a Google Voice number to try to give to them, and now I'm finding that they must know it's a VoIP number, so they won't take that. So I'm kind of running out of phone numbers to give these people, and I hate giving out my phone number. And I know, even from the standpoint, like, I went to the grocery store, and standing in line, I can hear every person in front of me giving their cell phone number, because that's how they,
Yeah.
do you have a rewards account with this particular grocery chain? So people are giving it out left and right.
Yeah, and they're giving it to banks, and they're giving it to everyone. So like, it's like becoming as a social security number, you don't give it to anyone.
Right.
But this number you're giving it left and right, and people don't realize how dangerous it is. Because literally, there are companies which are formed on the promise of giving you information based on your telephone number. That's all they do. You give them telephone number, they will give you all the information on someone.
Unbelievable. Interesting. Well, I know we're coming up on about 40 minutes where we said we'd wrap up. So
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else has any questions, maybe submit them right away here. But Hasib, do you have any closing thoughts or words for folks?
But I just said, like, I can mention that 99% of people do not do the things that we tell, and then we get a call from that at 1 a.m. that I got hacked. I
Mhm.
strongly think that, hey, block off like at least 5 or 10, even like half an hour at most, and do it right after the call. It's still fresh in the brain, and do things. It will not cost you anything, but it will save you a lot of money. And there's a chance that you may not get hacked, but it's like insurance. Why take risk? Like, you can run a car without insurance too, or you can basically not have any medical or car insurance, but not everyone gets an accident every day, but the day you get it, you'll be in
Yeah.
a lot of pain. So better just to secure yourself within like 10, 15 minutes, and even
Yeah.
do an educational seminar in your office or your home and tell them, hey, what are the risks?
Yeah. And let me ask you this. I would think that from a hacker's perspective, if I'm going to put an attack on you, I might be best off doing it Friday night at 10 o'clock or over the weekend, because maybe you're asleep, and you're asleep for 8 hours. I got 8 hours to do whatever I want. Might be difficult to get in touch with your bank or your phone company. Do these attacks happen at any specific day or day of the week or time of day?
Yeah, it generally happens around evening, or
Yeah.
sometimes we're traveling. Like I had friends who were traveling, and as soon as they got on the flight, they got SIM swapped
Mm.
because they'll be in the flight and they're flying off like out of the country, so they can't do anything.
Yeah.
We actually
Interesting. Oh,
recently had one yesterday. I think he was in Portugal and his account got compromised, and now he can't do anything because he's not in the country.
yeah.
Can't
Interesting.
get his phone and
Well,
everything.
you know what else I think is kind of interesting is it's not always financial. I mean, most people have read in the news that Jack Dorsey, the head of Twitter, got hacked a couple of weeks ago, and it was all about his, taking over his account and whatever he put out there. So it wasn't even necessarily monetary right there. So there's some other risks besides just financial with your phone number right there. So
Certainly, I think there are like I said, there's a social risk too. Sometimes it's just like we have revenge porn cases where people got SIM swapped. They were divorced, so they SIM swapped their spouse telephone. We have all this kind of like random stuff.
yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, I don't see any other questions. So Hasib, thank you for your time. I appreciate some of your expertise and tips right there. And hopefully we'll do this again sometime.
Perfect.
Thank
And
you,
you guys
everyone.
have our contact, so feel free to reach out and happy to help you out.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Hasib.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.